Hello and welcome to Her Drive podcast. Today's guest is Erica Rooney. She is a speaker and author. Her book is about to come out. It is called Glass Ceiling and Sticky Floors, Shattering Limiting Beliefs and Toxic Behaviors to Uncover Infinite Possibilities. Love that. Need to read it. Hi, Erica. Welcome to Her Drive.
Hey, how's it going today?
It is going well. It's a gloomy Dallas day, which is great. We're used to having so much sunshine, but it actually feels like autumn here. And as a girl from the Northeast, I'm a big fan. How are you?
Love a good gloomy winter day to just cozy up and get under the covers and read a good book. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I think there's a word for it. No, maybe that's for people who love a rainy day, something with a P. Anyway.
There probably is a word for it though.
Absolutely. Well, welcome to Her Drive. I would love to know in more of your words who you are and what is it that you're focusing on right now.
Oh my gosh, girl. Who is Erica Rooney? Well, I will tell you, it's like a really exciting time to ask that question for me because I actually about a month and a half ago quit my corporate career and I was a C-level executive in tech to just fully go all in on myself. And this was not just like a irrational decision. I had been planning it for some time, but it was definitely, when I'm looking back at the breadcrumbs, it was never a place I thought I would find myself. Like I always thought I would be a corporate girly for life and that would be it. But here I am. I'm not even 40 yet either. And it's like, wow, this is what we're just diving into now. Like how exciting, because there are, as the book says, like infinite possibilities out there for me. And I just have no idea what they all are. But when people do say like, hey girl, what do you do? I tell them I'm a speaker and I'm an author. And what I do is I speak on the topic of infinite possibilities. And I also speak to a lot of women's groups because I'm very big on helping women get into positions of power without burning out or sacrificing their sanity. So that's what I love to do. And as you said, I have my book coming out on November 12th. And so super thrilled about that. It was endorsed by Mel Robbins. So I had a big fangirl moment and almost passed out, but came to with some smelling salts. And now I'm here with you.
Glorious. I love that. Well, I think the areas in which you're focusing are very near and dear to my heart. I feel like I experienced burnout at a very early age, like my early 20s in a political setting, and just knew like this is not meant for me. And then I didn't really have a plan. I was just following my intuition, and it's led me on really marvelous adventures. But then when you tap into the idea of infinite possibilities, that is both extremely exciting and also like, what do I choose? So how do you navigate that with the people that, you're speaking to, and also within your own internal system?
It's really to just ignite this message of hope is what it is, because I think we get so bogged down by all these societal expectations and we think we're too old or we think we're not smart enough or we think, well, that couldn't happen to me. And we always put all of these limiting beliefs on ourselves. And so it's not intended to be this message of overwhelm, but it's intended to be this message of hope because possibility does exist, right? And you can do anything. Like I'm a huge believer in science and in evidence. So whenever I'm talking about things like this, I also go out and look for evidence. And that's what helps me with my mindset and when I'm thinking about it. But I go and I look
Mhm.
at people like the Oprahs of the world. Like when you think about it, there was nothing special about Oprah. She was just another woman out there with a really tough upbringing. But you know what? Like she never gave up and she worked her ass off for it. You look at a
Mhm.
Taylor Swift. She was born into a family. I think they sold like Christmas trees or something. I could be making that up, but I feel like I read that in my daughter's T Swift book. So look
Yeah,
at
I'm
all of
curious
these.
to know. I can't remember.
I don't know. It's a minor detail. She came from just a regular family. But like the point of
Yeah.
it is like none of us are special, yet all of us are special. And I will say, like, in these moments now where I'm a full entrepreneur, like, I go through those like high highs and low lows all within a span of like 5 minutes. It's like, oh my God, everything is amazing. I could be the next Mel Robbins to like, oh my God, I'm going to have to go work at McDonald's. So I would just say it's like normal and natural.
Hmm. Yeah, I think That's very true. And I love that you said you go out and you look for evidence. I've been doing that since my early 20s in a conscious manner, anywhere from entrepreneurial endeavors to different expeditions I've wanted to go on. And there's there's always been fun moments for me when I haven't found someone who's done the thing, the little thread that I want to do. I'm like, oh, and it's not really ego based. It's also just an exciting moment to be in that. Mm, I don't know what you would call it, like that adventurer spirit, and knowing that you are breaking new ground in some little way. Like I feel like in our lifetime, there's really not a lot of opportunities for that anymore. Yet we still need to identify in ourselves our uniqueness. So how do you navigate the waters of I could be the next da 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 for my community, for my country, for the globe? What does that look like for you?
So here's what's so interesting about that. That to me is almost like a North Star.
Mm,
Because, I mean, Mel Robbins is killing the game, obviously. And if we look at that example, she's got billions of followers, billions of books, all the things, right? But that's just the North Star. She can do so much more, right? She just came out with another book. I'm sure that was a push she never thought she could do. And so for me, when I think about like that thing that's never been done before, it's like,
mm,
okay, yes, everything's been done, but also at the same time, it hasn't. And I go and I think of these people, I mainly think of inventors, right? Like I think of the brothers who invented the airplane, right? Like there had never been a plane in the sky before. So, of course, but they imagined something and then they created a whole new reality for everyone, really. And then I think of like Steve Jobs and the iPod. So it's like when we get into these moments where we think there's nothing unique and nothing out there, it's like we haven't gone as deep as we should yet. And there's this whole
mm,
concept of like, well, I'll believe it when I see it, which really tells
mm.
me I don't believe it.
Right.
But if you get into that mindset shift and you're like, if I believe it, then I will see it.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning I could, as I continue on my journey of entrepreneurship, continue to make massive strides. And then I might get so close to Mel Robbins that I'm like, I'm going to go way past her, man. I'm going to fly right on past that. So it's kind of all about trusting, what you want to come alive, but also doing the work, of course. Like I can't just sit there and manifest that one into reality, although that would be nice.
Yeah, I don't think our understanding of the quantum realm, is that crystalline just yet.
Not just yet. And here's what I say about everyone. Like when they're thinking about all the woo woo stuff and quantum physics and like what we know about the universe fits in a thimble. Like there is
Yeah.
just so much out there that is beyond our capabilities of understanding. So when we think of like infinite possibilities, I mean, that is really where we are all living on some rock
Hmm.
that's flying through space.
I know.
Oh, in this entire crazy universe. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. So I'd love to kind of reverse in your story from this present moment and go to maybe like the genesis of you realizing that you wanted to shift, or maybe even just awakening to the idea of infinite possibilities would be a good place to start.
Mm, I love it because again, always thought I'd be a corporate girl for life, but I was miserable. Like I was unhappy and it always kept being like, okay, well, I'll be happy when. But then
Mm,
I got all those whens. I got the title, I got the pay, I had the financial security. Like on that outside, everything looked amazing, but I was miserable. And I didn't know what to do about it. And so, I mean, my story, we could go real deep, but like I really numbed myself out with a lot of wine and just binging on social media and totally isolating and not getting the connection from my family that I needed. And I knew that something had to give, but I didn't know what that would be because, again, corporate girl for life. And so I thought I'll take this executive coaching certification, right? It'll help me with my job, but it'll stimulate its growth. It's something. Okay, we'll do it. But to get that certification, I had to do a whole bunch of pro bono coaching hours. And when I did them only with women. And I kept seeing these themes emerge of imposter syndrome, perfectionism, burnout. And this is the key piece. When I would hang up from my coaching calls with those women, I was so damn happy. I was so
Mm,
lit up inside. And I don't
mm,
know that I would have recognized how miserable I was in corporate America had I not done those pro bono coaching hours where I felt so lit up. But I couldn't, as my old mentor likes to say, I couldn't unring that bell. I couldn't not know how happy I could be if I was doing something else. So I started thinking and planning and visualizing, like, what would that look like? And I took a whole bunch of courses and I studied and I read a bunch of books. And I ultimately, through a series of like trusting my gut and leaning in and then just some serendipitous things happening, I ended up going to a keynote speaking boot camp. And I've always loved speaking, but I never imagined it to be a true revenue stream. So once that light bulb went off, that started a whole new round of learning and growing and building my business. And finally, when I felt like, okay, I'm secure enough in who I am, in my offering, and in my skills to grow this business, it's time to
mhm,
cut the cord. And
mm,
I did.
mhm.
And it was absolutely terrifying. It still is terrifying, right? Like I still
Yeah.
wake up today with sometimes like with these, oh my God, I don't have a paycheck coming in moments.
Mhm,
Then I realize like, oh my God, I'm so happy. I'm so free. I can do the things I want to do. Like I was lunchroom mom today for my kids and I did shit for my business, like
mhm, mhm.
so it's just it's been a great journey and it's definitely one of those things you've got to go through it to go through it to get to the other side. And I think so often we want the easy answer and it's not there. You got to go through it. So
Begrudgingly. So,
begrudgingly, right? We
in
got to
some
wake up day after day.
yeah, and one of my more recent, and I don't know how permanent this will be, but mindset shifts has been the true just acknowledgement of this is the grind, maybe not grind, but this is either like the void, this is a period, this is a grind period, this is like the fruits. So if you look at like whatever challenge or situation we're moving through in life, it's almost like it has its life cycles,
Hmm.
right? Just like the seasons do. And by stitching those all together, I feel a much more sense of relaxation into whatever phase I'm within, knowing that it's not permanent.
Well, that's a big thing. And I think so often because we're conditioned to, we think we have to always be taking the next step up, up, up. We go from elementary to middle to high to college to da, 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 and we climb the ladder. And it's like sometimes you have to really kind of contract before you can expand. Sometimes you have to
Mm-hmm.
slow down before you can speed up. Like there's the gap in the gain. It's all of these life cycles and things like that. And so you have to lean into that and recognize that you've got to go through all of the phases, whichever strategy you want to lean into, but you got
Yeah,
to go through it.
most definitely. Well, for those who are listening to this, who are in a phase of their life where they're a little bit, I don't want to say far behind you, but in that space where you used to be of numbing out, you'd mentioned wine, social media, just ways to detach from reality and whatever emotional thing they might want to avoid. What's your first step for them that you recommend to just
Oh,
start to move out of that or acknowledge it more
yeah.
fully?
I would say number one, if you were like me and you were using wine to numb out your emotions, you need to stop. Like you need to get a clear head because again, you cannot bury those things. You cannot make them go away. All of that is doing is just compounding the issue. And so
Mm-hmm.
if you're using something, even if it's just mindlessly scrolling through social media instead of connecting with your partners after work, like put it down, walk away because those are the toxic behaviors that just gets us into these bad cycles and they really mess with you. So stop whatever you're doing. And then I'm a big fan of journaling and just really getting curious. And I know some people are like, I'm not a journaler. Then do a voice note to yourself. Do something
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes that just mind what you think is mindless talking, this like constant stream of whatever, you come up with some massive breakthroughs and things that you didn't even realize you had kept up back locked in that brain, right? Like you were unlocking that unconscious brain. Think about when you go out with a girlfriend, for lunch, and you're talking about whatever, your relationship problems, your life problems. And then as you're talking, like you come up with all these different solutions and things you can do. And it's because you're getting that mind flowing and you're getting your juices going. So journaling, pen to paper, massively helpful. But also if that's not your thing, like start doing those voice to text to see what comes out.
Yeah.
And then actually get quiet and listen and do it. Right. Like that's the other thing. Cause there was a long period, girl, where I was like, I know I probably shouldn't drink wine, but also like, I'm still drink wine. And so then I just kept putting it off. So a lot of times, like, what you need to be doing, we just don't want to do it. So you're going to have to actually do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Which, I mean, then comes in, the acknowledgement and then the behavioral change, which changing behavior patterns is challenging. But to your point about the scrolling, the partner of one of my girlfriends, I met him, I don't know, a month ago or so now. And we were just talking about the types of phones we have. And my friend and I were teasing him because he's not on like the iPhone gang. And he's like, well, this is why I like it. And one of the things that he said he's done on his phone, he's like, well, on my phone, I can make everything grayscale. So I'm not being overstimulated by the colors of my phone. So I spend way less time on social media. And since then, like I have put my phone on grayscale. You can probably see this if you guys are
This
watching.
is your iPhone?
I found a way to do it on iPhone. You can, and you can just Google how to do it. But anyway, my goal was to have 2 15-minute periods on social media a day. And how you can track your screen usage. Anyway, since doing this, it's super effective. And then
because you're just not interested in it anymore, are you?
Not interested in it. Yeah, because the colors are all gone. So that is something that such a blessing from him. But there's ways where we can really start to shift our behaviors and use these tools like you recommended with like the voice note rather than just the journaling that are super effective. And I love the point that you made about getting the messages that come through, especially if you're doing like just automatic writing. You're not just writing like, well, today I talked to Terry about blah, 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 blah. You're actually asking yourself more so questions or whatever. Or just doing what I do, which is sometimes I'm just like, I'm just going to write. I'm not going to think about what I write.
Just word vomit. Yep.
Yeah. It's just, and there's so much higher level of consciousness that comes through. And then my team and my higher self is always like, hey, remember we told you. So, but I get it with like the wine and other behaviors. It's very hard to shift, but not impossible. And that clarity of mind, clarity of body really does allow for like pretty larger steps moving forward. But I think the thing that I didn't expect when I stopped drinking heavily in my early 20s, I didn't expect to feel so much. The emotional overwhelm was really intense. So what is your, what are some tips or advice or just thoughts you have in regards to all that emotional, hello, here we are, that was once numbed out from whatever the avoidant patterns were?
And it bubbles up. And I would think a lot of other emotions that you didn't have before because you were pushing them way down also bubble up. So you feel just very almost overstimulated, and it doesn't make sense because you're like, why am I feeling like this? I thought I'm supposed to be feeling better. A lot of times you feel shame, right? So like, why do I feel like I have to do this? Why do I have to give up wine? Or why do I have to slow down or stop or whatever it is? And so I am a big fan of therapy. Number one, get yourself a trusted therapist that you can just chat it out with. Get a trusted bestie who is that bestie that will listen to you without judgment and listen to you without kind of telling you what you should be doing, because that's also not helpful. And again, back to the journaling, because you have to get those emotions out. I'm a big fan of like closing the loop and ending the cycle. And if you don't close the loop and end that cycle, it just keeps going in your brain. So then you have sadness, and then you have shame and depression and anger, and they all start swirling. And then you blow up or have a breakdown or burnout. And none of that is good. So again, you've got to get it out. I'm also a huge fan of every single day getting out and doing at least 15 minutes of movement outside. Because when you are feeling all those emotions, literally the movement helps get it out of the body. So walking around, doing some squats, whatever it is, but also just get outside because the vitamin D in the sunlight helps with all of those emotions. Like it is so
Yeah.
easy. I think for me, the first week when I was really kind of coming out of this like burnout cocoon that I was in, I laid on the couch and watched Netflix for a full week. And it's because when you are really burnt out, like you don't have the capacity to make the decisions of like, do I put on shoes to go outside for this? You are just so done. And so
Mm.
once I got through my little like total recover on the couch phase, I started getting out and moving. And because of that intentional movement, I think my recovery was a lot faster.
Mm. Yeah, and I love that you made the point of an outside movement. Most of us go from our homes to our office to the gym to the restaurants, the bar, the whatever, and we're not spending time in Mother Nature or even in Mother Nature, let alone like connecting with her, like actually touching the ground. And I think there's plenty of scientific studies to show like even in your office, looking outside a window at a greenscape rather than just all man-made material
Fluorescent
significantly. Yeah.
light.
Yeah. Oh, the bulbs, right? Like there's little things we can do is change the lighting in our homes or in our offices or
Yeah.
wear blue block glasses or like you said, that like sunlight, especially first thing in the morning, first 15 minutes upon
Yeah.
waking, it recharges our little cellular batteries.
Yeah. And one of the things I'm trying to do now too, and I'm not super good at it yet, but I'm working on it, is finding more things to do within play. So like something that and really my definition here with this is like it can't have a purpose. You know, I
Mm,
used to only read books for like self-help and development. So I was always learning. So it'd be 8 o'clock at night and I'm reading, I don't know, the 5 habits of whatever, and nothing was ever just to be or to play. And so adult coloring books, that has been something that's been like really good for me, and really fun to do. And doing different like arts and crafts with my daughter has been really helpful. But building forts, like doing things, go back to the things you
mm,
used to do as a child that like
mhm,
you're not looking for a certain outcome or output. You're just being creative and allow yourself to do that. And I mean, that's really hard for me because for so long it's like optimize every minute of every day and make the most and da da da. And like,
mhm,
we still, even if we do that, we can't finish our to-do list. But it's like if you
mhm.
give your brain like just the freedom to play, it's crazy how much that also recharges your batteries.
Oh, oh, absolutely. I am a huge advocate for play. I think one of the words used to describe me is fearless. The other is playful. And I know very much when I get into like this, I don't even want to, I don't know the word for it, but it's almost like this like dense energy where I haven't played. I haven't created something with my hands. I haven't done something that is, like you said, not necessarily optimized for some specific outcome that's going to advance the da 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 da. It's like just a sheer joy. Like yesterday, what did I do? I was kind of in that mode of getting things done. I needed to create this gift for my friend's birthday, but I realized that another friend had a gift for me and has been waiting for me to come over and get it. And this gift was a mermaid outfit. So I said, I was like, oh, I'll be there for 30 minutes. Nope. I stayed there for hours, like in this mermaid costume, like playing in the pool, trying to figure out how to maneuver. And that was such a joyous detour from all the things I had planned for my day. And then I just allowed other things that weren't necessarily needed to be done to fall off because I know eventually everything gets done that's needed. And I was able to like be in that state of like just sheer joy. So I love that you're tapping into play. And even something as simple as a coloring book shifts the mindset, right? And playing with the colors and being creative. It's super relaxing. More so to me than sitting and watching a television show. I don't
Oh
know how
my
you feel
God.
about
Yeah. I don't, you know
that.
what?
Yeah.
I really don't watch a lot of TV at all. And
Mhm.
I never really used to. I've got two small kids, they're 6 and 9.
Mhm.
And so pre kids, I never really watched a ton of television anyway, but post kids, number one, I'm a morning person, not a night person. So like if I'm going to watch TV, it will be during my nighttime, which is like 7 o'clock, which is also my kids' nighttime. So I have a bedtime schedule of like of a 5-year-old. So
Oh,
there is, there is no time where I can like turn on an actual television show that I would enjoy that would be like appropriate with my 6-year-old running around.
sure.
But yeah, it doesn't recharge your batteries. Like I've never left a movie or a television show being like, "Oh my god, that was so much fun." Like never,
Mm-hmm.
like you just don't do that. Like it could be interesting, might hold your
Mm-hmm.
interest, but it's not that joy, that fun that you get from play. And I mean, when you're talking about your, you know, example at the pool and the mermaid outfit, like I often think about like taking my kids to the pool and how much like as parents and as women do we make something like that a chore versus something to enjoy. We're like, "Oh, I got a sunscreen and do this." And then it's like it doesn't have to be that complicated. Like,
Right.
go, actually put your ass in the
Mhm.
water and have
Yeah,
fun. And don't worry about how you look. Don't worry about if your hair is good or if you packed enough snacks. Like, some of the
mhm.
most fun moments and definitely the most memorable moments that my kids have had with me are those spontaneous moments where nothing is planned and it's like, "Oh my god, do you want to grab a pizza? Let's go do that," you know? It's not these curated things that we think we need to do.
Yeah, and I love that you brought in your children because I wanted to touch on that because I'm not a mother, but I have 9 nieces and nephews, and one of my favorite things to do is to be around them, put my phone down, and just, like, observe what's happening with them and then be invited into whatever they wanna play with. And I know as a parent, there's so many other things moving around that you're trying to focus on, like you said, like the sunscreen or the snacks or this or that. So I think it's great that you're finding those spontaneous moments of, like, let's follow our bliss bubble. Doesn't this sound fun? Okay, yeah, let's go. And then you're bringing them into that state of play and even more enhancing the importance of them staying within that as they continue to advance in age.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
and then I mean, I don't wanna make it sound like it's all rainbows and sunshine and bliss bubbles over in my house because I was yelling at them this morning like, "Get your ass in the car for school," you
Yeah, of
know?
course.
But I do try to also remember that, like, I don't know, I think little people, like these little humans, I think they see the world a lot more clearer than we do, you know,
Mhm.
because they don't they don't give a shit about the expectations. Like if they want it, they want it. If they like it, they like it. And if they don't, you know it. And it's like,
Mhm.
man, I want to be her when I grow up, you know? And it's
Yeah.
like, so if we can actually pay attention to what they're doing, what they're saying, and not worry about all this other stuff that doesn't matter, like we'll be in such a better place.
I so agree. And I think now is the perfect time to ask the question I ask everyone, which is if you could go back in time and give a younger you some words of wisdom, what age would you go to and what would you say?
I've never been asked the what age would you go to. So I love
Hmm.
that perspective. But I think, oh wow. I mean, I feel like there's so many different ages I want to go back to and be like, I'm going to give you this nugget. I'm going to give you this nugget.
Yeah.
But I think that I would go back to probably around 17. I think I would go back to 17 and I would just tell myself that no man will ever define your worth, you know, and no
Mm,
man just no man is worth your sanity, is worth, you know, who you are, and
mm,
don't settle for anything. Because I spent a lot of
mhm.
time chasing love, you know,
Yeah.
and trying to mold myself into what could be lovable instead of just being authentic, you know?
Mm,
And when you
mhm.
finally realize that and you finally tap into that, it's like, "Damn, girl, what you been doing?"
Yeah.
Well, I would go back and
Yeah.
I would tell her that.
Mhm. I can relate to that for sure, and I love that that's the advice, or especially at the perfect time, like in your teens. It's when these
Yeah,
patterns truly.
it's is all it is. That's all it is.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Amazing, beautiful. Well, shifting gears a little bit towards your book, I would love to know more about it.
Yeah, so it's Glass Ceilings and Sticky Floors. And I am so thrilled about this book because it is rooted in science. As I said earlier, like I want evidence for why things are the way they are, you know, why do I act the way I act? So the first part of the book is all about the science of the brain, the anatomy of the brain, without getting too like crazy sciencey on you. But then I break into what I call different sticky floor chapters. And every
Mm,
chapter is a sticky floor. And all of these stories that are collected into this book are stories based off of myself, my life, but also all of the women that I've had on my podcast as well, called Glass Ceilings and Sticky Floors, because it was so wonderful to notice when I was having all of these conversations with women on my podcast that we were all going through the same thing. You know, we
mm,
had struggles with perfectionism, imposter syndrome, and pretty privilege and human giver syndrome. Like those were all different sticky floors that you'll have to read about. But we talk about what they are, how they impact women, and then more importantly, what do you need to do, which is based off of my 4-step framework to snap out of your sticky floors. And
mm,
if you're feeling stuck, it is a great book to pick up, to read, because there are going to be women's stories in there that will resonate with you. I guarantee it. And then it will also empower you to actually take whatever that next step is to get unstuck, because it's not a light
mm,
bulb switch. It's not going to happen overnight. Like it takes times and sometimes it takes years, but that first step is all you need to take.
mm. Well, I love the idea of like the sticky floors, like
Yes.
no,
Yes.
ah.
Well, and my
Yeah. So
thing
what?
too, girl, is like being an executive, I was like, I've
Mm,
smashed the ceiling. There are women who can smash the ceiling. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of systemic issues out there. And I
mhm,
fully believe in attacking the systemic issues. However, when you tell me there's a 132-year pay gap, I'm not just going to be
mm,
like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll never have equal pay. Like
right.
I want to know, what can I do to change that narrative? Because it doesn't have to be my narrative. And so
Right.
I really started looking deep to say, okay, these systems, there are problems here and we will work to fix the systems, but I am not going to live that story. And so that's
Mhm.
that's all in the book, but it's all about like, what can we do to break our own glass ceilings? And that's often looking down at our sticky floors.
That's so beautiful. Well, I'm curious where the idea of the sticky floors came from.
You know what? I don't remember. It was just one of those things. And I think I was thinking in like black, white, yes, no, up, down. And I was like ceiling,
Mhm,
floor. And then it
mhm,
just kind of came to me, this whole idea of glass ceilings and sticky floors. And I was like, yes, I love that, because every woman out there can just envision, it's a great visual. You are just literally like encased in muck in your shoes and you can't get out of
yeah.
it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we all understand exactly what that means.
Heck yeah.
So well. Hmm. Well, I'm curious what type of like rituals, practices, things that you do maybe on a daily, weekly, monthly, annual basis that kind of,
Yeah.
despite the highs and the lows of life, especially now, keeps you a bit more like sane, stable, happy, grounded, etc.
Yeah, I'm very big on movement. Like fitness and wellness has always been my first love. And so, always being very in tune with how I move my body and what I fuel my body with.
Hmm.
I don't make myself exercise every day. That perfectionism with working out was a sticky floor of mine. I used to think that if I didn't work out for a certain amount of time, for a certain number of days out of the week, that it was trash, and I was constantly finding myself on that hamster wheel of like, well, I'll just start again on Monday. Never mind if it was Tuesday. So it was like I was trashing this the whole week because I had a cheat meal. And
Hmm.
so fitness and nutrition is a very big one. Also reading both for enjoyment, for that play aspect that we talked about, but also reading for growth. And so in the mornings, I wake up every day. I love to wake up before anyone else in my house. It's like my special time. And I sit on the couch, or we recently just closed in our outdoor porch. So we've got those like all weather windows in North Carolina. So I can sit out there if it is snowing, raining,
I love it.
pollen season, whatever. I can be out there and not be bothered. But I sit out there, I read my book, I just hang out with my dog, and that's my time to be still before the day hits me. Because, once Like for me as a parent, once those kid gets up or once the emails start coming in, like the boots are going, you're running.
Yep.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I would say that I am trying to work in more intentional breaks during the day to just completely detach my brain from work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then doing things I really enjoy and getting back to that. Because to be honest, I had lost so much of that when I was in corporate. And so now that I'm not, that has become part of my self care routine is really exploring and trying those things again, like cooking because I enjoy it, not because I have to throw something together after baseball, but before bed. And is it fast enough? And is everybody going to like it? No, God,
Mm-hmm.
And so really kind of getting back into that enjoyment piece.
Mm, I love it. I love all of that. For those who have no idea what they enjoy, where should they start and
Oh my God.
to look it up?
Anywhere and
Yeah.
anything. Like if
Yeah.
because what's actually crazy is like you do get these, and I see these women in my coaching practices where they're just like, I don't know what to do anymore. And it's
Mm,
like, good, let yourself be bored, but like
mm,
know that you're not going to go to these certain things, right? Like if you're bored, don't turn on Netflix. If you're bored, don't go on your phone. Like actually find things to do. I actually had a good girlfriend just turned 50 and she's like, I want to figure out what I enjoy again. And I'm like,
mm,
yeah, so you just try things. You do one thing. And I really equate this to doing like one brave bite a day because so often like we talk ourselves out of those things. We get nervous, right?
mhm,
Why? I don't know, but go try a salsa dancing lesson if you want to. Do piano, right? Get outside,
mhm.
rollerblade. I've been thinking of going and picking up rollerblades because I did that as a teenager. Oh my God, it's gonna be
Mhm.
hilarious. Watch me whiz past suburbia in rollerblades, like get some hot pink bike
Yes.
shorts or something. But
Ooh, yeah.
just try things because
Yeah,
life is too short not to. And I know this is like oldie but goldie, like you never know until you try you know?
exactly.
So all
Yeah.
these things that you never thought you would ever do or you never thought you would enjoy, why not give it a shot?
I love that. Yeah, I think there's a muscle for some people that needs, well, for all of us, but for some of it's maybe a little bit more strong than others. But you have to exercise it. That try muscle, the new muscle, which comes, it kind of ego gets involved. Like some of us who are perfectionists want to be perfect off the bat, but if you surrender into, I'm a newbie, I'm going to see and laugh at myself at how like maybe bad this might be, or you might walk away completely mystified by how quickly you picked whatever it is up. And what I love about going to courses or places where there's other newbies is that you're all in this like collective energy together and you have comrades in your movement forward. So
Yeah,
I
but you
love,
know what? Even if you're the only newbie, just
yeah,
find the courage to say, I've never done this before. Because
sure.
when you do that, all of those
Mhm.
people who are in that room that are experts are going to be so freaking pumped. They're going to be like, oh my God, let me show you what I did. Let me help you. Let me support you because they have already been through it. So they
Yeah.
know how hard it can be and they want to bring you too. So
Mhm.
yeah, just get out there. We always think that we have to look good at what we're doing, that we have to be the
Mm.
best at it, that we have to be good at it. And it's like, we were never good at anything the first time, like ever.
Right.
So again, with those societal expectations, and one of my big life lessons too, I think is like just being okay, being uncomfortable. All of those
Mhm.
things are being uncomfortable, you know? And so
Sure.
just embrace it. And
Mhm.
the more you can embrace it, the easier it gets.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned being uncomfortable. For most of us in the Western world, we have pretty comfy lives, and a lot of the suffering is self induced or not that it's being measured, but it is a little bit better in some ways. So I also think it's a sign of bravery to intentionally do things that make you uncomfortable. What do you think about
No, I love that perspective of it because you're right. Like when you think about probably the great majority of the people listening to this podcast, we probably all have roofs over our head. We probably are not starving. You know, we may be going through it, but we are not living in like war torn countries that people are trying to escape, right? Like there are some crazy things going on in this world. And so, yes, you want to talk about uncomfortable. Like, we are living the dream here. Are you kidding me? And so I think it really puts it into perspective that, if you are doing something that is uncomfortable for you, whatever that is, that it is an act of bravery, because it's also sometimes a choice to do those things. Most of the time, it's a choice
Yeah.
to do those things. Sometimes you're forced, but most of the time, it is a choice.
Yeah, fully agree. And then another thing you'd mentioned a while ago, you were talking about some of the challenges that you see of those who are on your podcast. One of them was pretty privilege,
Mm.
and that is not something I think I've ever talked about on this podcast. Maybe one other guest is coming to mind, but we just kind of like touched on it. We didn't really go a little deep in it. So I'd love to hear your perspective of what pretty privilege is. You're a very beautiful woman. How has this kind of shaped you and some of the other people that you know?
Yeah. So, pretty privilege is something that is so interesting to me because I never knew it was a thing until I started doing
Yeah.
research for my book. And I stumbled upon the study of pulchronomics, which is all about how society views your level of attractiveness, right? Because there's different levels or standards for attractiveness based off of cultural standards, where you live, all of those things. And it will either help you get further along in life or the opposite direction, right? And so there are actual studies out there that show, if you're talking about the Western culture, right? If you are taller or you are deemed, beautiful by Western beauty standards, you're paid more, you're promoted faster, all of those things, right? But it also has a really negative side to it, which is sometimes you're invited into the room because of your looks, not because of your qualifications. And it can be one of those things where it's like this double-edged sword, because it gets you in the room, but you're not there for, anything but your looks. And so I taught in my world, I will tell you, and I write this story in my book, that I was interviewing for a very high level position, and I had to interview with two different individuals. One was a male and one in a C level, and one was a female and in the C level as well. And I very specifically remember thinking, and not really having a conscious thought about what I was doing or why I was doing it, but I was like, I'm going to wear my red dress, I'm going to curl my hair, and I'm going to have red lips, and I'm going to look damn good for this interview. It's going to be amazing, right? I didn't think anything more of it than that in my conscious mind, I will say. And I did it in that red dress with those red lips and that curled hair, and I killed the interview, right? And then I had my interview with the female. I could not tell you to this day what I wore, right?
Mm,
I don't know.
mm-hmm,
I didn't put any thought into it, right? And so that's one of
mm-hmm.
those things, like, looking back, now I see that I was completely playing into the beauty premium and the beauty standards with the male versus with the female. And it was all
Yeah.
unconscious, right? Like, I wasn't doing
Mhm.
it, nefariously or anything like that. But it's one of those things that we don't even recognize, but society leads us to believe certain things and act certain ways. And so when you look at
Mhm.
pretty privilege, it's like, wow, I was really using my looks to try to get ahead, you know?
Sure. Sure. Well, I love the point that you brought in regards to it might get you in the room, but it might be for the wrong reasons. And then in my experience, it's been challenging being taken. It's like you have to prove your intelligence and prove how to get people to stop looking at the external shell and hear what's really coming forward from your heart, your intellect, your actual beingness. And that is an ongoing frustration. So I love that you touched on it because I've never heard anyone
Yeah.
outline it in such a way. Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's just like, I don't know that that ever changes, right? Because as human beings, you know, there are sexual desires and sexual attraction, and that is just who we are. That is how we reproduce, right? And we will always have those there. But maybe the more awareness we can bring to it, like, we can be more knowledgeable about it. I mean, now that I know about it, and I can be very in tune with, like, am I going to wear the same type of outfit to different interviews going forward, or how am
Yeah.
I going to approach these things? But yeah, and actually, like, when it comes to things like women and being invited places for how they look, not because of what's in their minds and stuff like that, it also really harms women in different levels of leadership, corporate America, VC funding, because studies have shown, and this is what also I find really interesting, it's that like we'll give women stuff like VC funding and capital, and then we end up questioning all of their decisions behind it. Versus with a
Mm-hmm.
man, we would not question his decisions. So then if I've given you this capital and I'm questioning you about it, I am using your time and taking your time away from your business and solving the problem than a man would. And so what ends up happening is the men are more successful with their capital than the women, because the women have to spend so much time defending their decisions.
Yeesh.
I know, right?
Well, what comes to mind when you say this, something I watched recently, is the Martha Stewart documentary on Netflix. And if anyone hasn't watched it, I do recommend it, because it doesn't necessarily, well, it touches on the ways in which women in business are absolutely questioned. And Martha Stewart, I didn't know how stunningly gorgeous she was as a woman, but she is like a total boss. Like, and I
Girl,
can
she was
see why
just on
people.
Sports Illustrated at like 80 something
Yeah,
years old and like killing the
I
game.
know. And I think it touches on the point of there's still so much more room to make. And I know in the beginning of our conversation, you were talking about moving resources and information more so into the hands of women. So if you had a magic wand and you could really make some change in that space, what would you do?
I would give I would give equal parental leave to the mother and the father for 12 to 18 months, honestly.
Okay.
That
Mm-hmm.
that is what I would do. I would have mandated paid parental leave where your job is protected, your income's protected for up to that long, because that is where, in my opinion, where and why a lot of the inequities start. And for example, as a woman with two small kids, right? I got 6 weeks of paid time off that was paid at 60% of my pay. So not a lot of money for 6 weeks, right? That's about that's about when you let puppies leave their mothers, maybe,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes I
Another
think they
12 weeks. We're
actually,
12.
yeah. So puppies stay for 12 weeks. So it's 6 weeks. That's when my pay stopped. Now, fortunately, we had saved up some money and some vacation. I think my husband got like 2 days off for the birth
Wow.
of my child. And I worked for a
Mm-hmm.
large global Fortune 500 company. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just like the standard normal back then, right? And so what happened is because I was home with my child, I took over all of the parental care duties. And then when my leave ended and I went back to work, I still had all the parental caregiving duties because we never renegotiated anything. We never talked, it was just kind of, we just did it. We fell into this rhythm, right? Now, in today's world, I work with women, I coach them, and I tell them, okay, when you go back, you need to renegotiate these duties, but that's a lesson I've learned. However,
Mm-hmm.
if the mother and the father were able to have full parental leave, equal rights, the same across the board, the father could be as equally involved
Right.
and the mother could be as equally involved in work. And then they could make
Mm-hmm.
the best decisions for their families. And you could have more women in the workplace, more men at home, and both ways. That is where you can start with true equality, because then you're going to have men at home who are choosing to stay home because who knows? They want to, that's their gifts, whatever. And you'll have more women in the workplace who are leaders, executives in the C suite, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
over time, that's going to create the equality we need.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a brilliant start. And I wish I could give you a wand, but I know you have your own superpowers and you're absolutely helping women, especially in that idea of renegotiating certain scenarios with not just at work, but in your own personal life and relationships. You can do that. And in my work as a sex and intimacy coach, I teach people negotiation and communication in their intimate space. And that applies in so many different avenues. And it creates, no matter where you're negotiating, I think it can create a sense of confidence in yourself. And then having that confidence to step forward and say, this is what I would like. And I think it's super, super empowering.
100%. Yeah, you've
Yeah.
got to be able to say what is on your mind with
Mhm.
confidence, and you
Right.
deserve it too. Like that's another thing is some people don't believe their voices deserve to be heard because
Sure.
they're not whoever, Martha Stewart, I don't know.
Yeah, I think worthiness is, and vocalization of worthiness is something the female collective is working on. And I think really powerful to have women like you, Erica, leading us in that charge. So thank you very
Oh, thank
much.
you.
Absolutely. Well, Erica, what would you like to close with, and where can everyone find you?
Well, you can find me on my website, which is ericaandersonrooney.com, or hit me up on any of your social media platforms, Instagram, LinkedIn, you know the drill. But I would say if I could leave you with one thing today, it would be that we are the ones that are putting ceilings on what we think is possible, right? So, number one, how about we stop doing that? But then number two, we are also the people who are holding the hammers that can shatter those ceilings that we are putting over ourselves. So it's time to break through those barriers. Let's do it. We've been here long enough. Let's shatter some damn ceilings and live our best lives, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Erica, for being here. It was a joy talking with you. I'm very excited for your book. And remember, y'all, you can find all of this information in the show notes. And for the guests, thanks for tuning in. As always, I ask that you leave a review, share this with someone who you think could really benefit, and be sure to check out Erica's book, her website, and everything else. Thanks and love you all.